This is the Undefeated Sports Network. Sport Court, and court is in session.
What's up, everybody? Good evening, and welcome into a special episode of Sport Court right here on the Undefeated Sports Network. As always, I am Andrew Tarbill. To my left is our guy, Angelo Ace Camacho. What's up, Ace? How we doing tonight?
What up, Tarbill? I'm doing good, man. I'm excited for this show. I mean, anytime we talk Bears,
Absolutely
I could talk
excited
for hours about the Bears, so I'm pretty jacked for this show.
Definitely. As Ace alluded to, this is going to be a Bears heavy show for you guys. Obviously, a lot of movement going on at camp. The media has been allowed at 5 practices, I do believe now. So we've gotten to see a little bit of how QB1's looking, how his timing, more importantly, is progressing with the Bears' number 1 wide receiver acquisition. And I'm still in love with that pick. I cannot wait, man. We're less than 90 days away from kickoff. And DJ Moore and Justin Fields are out there building chemistry together, doing all the right things. Apparently, he looks really good when he's throwing to DJ Moore. However, with the injuries to Chase Claypool and Darnell Mooney, not really having any solid number 2 or 3 targets, there's going to be some miscues, I would say. It was reported by Adam Hogue that Fields looked shaky on day 2 of camp this week. So take that all with a grain of salt. It's still relatively early, right?
Yep,
Now's
absolutely.
the time for
real quick,
mistakes.
before we get started, man, you want to tell everybody that's on Facebook before they start commenting and we can't read how to get their comments up there?
So, guys, if you are viewing us on Facebook, go over to StreamYard.com/Facebook and click allow likeness, allow name. It will just be a 1-button prompt, takes 5 seconds, and then we can see your name and picture when you comment. Or even better, head over to our YouTube channel and like and subscribe there.
Boom.
But let's get into it, Ace. I mean, it's Bears season, my friend. Like I said, less than 90 days until the season officially kicks off. Bears-Packers week 1. The first game of Justin Fields' career against the Packers without Aaron Rodgers. Jordan Love's first NFL start as a bona fide, tried and true starter. That ought to be an interesting one. I think the Bears take that one. We've touched on that before here on the network, but man, it's exciting. It's an exciting prospect to see that, we're, like I said, we're less than 90 days away. So time's ticking. It's crunch time right now is the time for our Bears to practice, solidify the team, and really that kind of transitions us right into our first topic for tonight, Ace. And that is, where do you see the Bears finishing this season in the NFC North? Now, this is an interesting question for a few reasons. One, the Detroit Lions are picking up steam, right? They barely missed the playoffs last season. There's rumor that HBO called them again to do Hard Knocks as kind of a redemption story. I don't know who's actually being the team at this point, but so the Detroit Lions 9-8 last season, barely missed the playoffs. Dan Campbell, love that guy as a coach. High energy, enthusiastic, biting at people's kneecaps, doing all the things that a coach needs to do, and really just like Dan Campbell's attitude. But the Lions are trending upward. The Vikings traded away let Delvin Cook walk. Surprisingly, I don't understand that one, but we'll get into that a little bit later in the show. And, obviously you've still got Kirk Cousins, who's not going to be a world beater. He's a game manager. Even with guys like Justin Jefferson, he's shown inconsistency at times. And really, if defenses are able to take Justin Jefferson away, the Vikings have struggled, right? It's like throw to him or throw to no one.
Yep.
So it'll be interesting to see where the Vikings land. And then, of course, you have the Green Bay Packers, who are moving into the future with a quarterback who, statistically speaking, will not be a Hall of Fame quarterback. So you've got Jordan Love making his NFC North and, bona fide starter debut this season after, 4 years on the bench?
Yep, 4.
It'll be interesting to see what transpires there, but a lot of action going on in the North, obviously. And then we land on our Chicago Bears, a team that last season led the league in scoring for 6 straight weeks and didn't win a game because our defense was atrocious.
Yep.
A team that is trending in the right direction, you would think, and really has put all the offensive weapons in place for this team to be successful. I still have some questions on the defensive side of the ball. Although we did draft 2 defensive linemen in this past draft, I don't know if it's going to be enough. Obviously, the acquisitions of Edwards and Edmonds help tremendously at linebacker. And then your guy, the Jackhammer's still there. Obviously, he's probably your starter at that number 3 position. And then Sewell, however you say it, will follow behind him.
Right.
The acquisition from Oregon in this previous draft. But I don't know. It's an interesting prospect, Ace. Realistically, the fan part of me wants to say that the Bears are going to win the North without competition. Realistically, I think it's going to be tough, right? The Detroit Lions are going to be tough to play this year. They were tough to play last year, as we saw, especially in the second game of the season.
Yeah, that was bad.
Lions specifically, within like a 17-day stretch, the Bears play the Lions twice. So they play the Lions, then they play another team, and then they go back to play the Lions again. And I think depending on how both teams are doing at that point in the season, those 2 games will be really key to how the season plays out.
Yep.
With that being said, I'm going to say right now that I think the Bears at least split the division. So 4 wins. I would like to see a little bit more. I think the Vikings are definitely a team you could beat twice. I think you probably lose to Green Bay in Green Bay and win at home week 1. And Detroit, you could split there. So there's 4 wins. It'll be interesting, man. It's one of those things where it's really hard for me to pin that down. You see a lot of guys like Adam Rank said that on the NFL Network that he thinks the Bears are going to go 12-5. And obviously we
know who that sounds like, right?
Adam Rank's a little bit of a Bears fan, just a little bit. So
hold on. Let's see. Where did I have them fit? Oh, 12-5 as well. So me and him, same page.
So, but realistically, you look at the schedule, and we dedicated an entire episode to it.
Yep.
Last month, you look at the schedule, and there are some really winnable games out there. But specifically in the division, I see the Bears winning 4 games in the division. What's your thoughts on this?
So, do you think they finish first, second, third, last?
I'm gonna say second.
Second, okay, behind Detroit, right?
Behind Detroit.
Yeah, that's kind of what I think too. I mean, the Lions are heavy favors to win the North. You're looking at a Vikings team, like you said, that's dropping pieces left and right. They're already talking about trading some of their key players also.
Right.
I don't think they believe in Kirk Cousins. I think they're going to
just how can you?
Right.
How can you believe in Kirk Cousins?
He does
right?
what he's that stat patter at the end of the game, when
right.
you're in garbage time.
Garbage time, and he throws
touchdowns, right?
Yep.
And
then
they have Justin Jefferson,
all the other
but
players' chains on the plane.
Yep. And then you got the Packers, Jordan Love. I don't know. I think that Jordan Love's going to come in and be just a stud quarterback is I mean, track record would say that that's what's going to happen in Green Bay, but I cannot imagine life if that happens. I agree. I think the Bears finish second. I think Dan Campbell's doing something good up there. I love that dude. I watched Hard Knocks. I'm a big football guy, so I like to tune into any football I can get. Hard Knocks with him, the way he commands his team and he brings everybody together and everybody buys into his he just spews
His
all kinds
culture
of
for sure.
quotes
Yeah.
and right, and
I
he's
mean,
just like this ultra positive talker. I think
hate to say the word culture after the Matt Nagy stint
Yeah.
here, where we heard
Yeah.
like culture and collaboration were the only two words that he knew how to say.
Yeah,
and
collaboration was their big one. That was their favorite word.
it's really collaborative, Ace.
I do think that the Vikings are going to take a step back. I think they probably finish third. I could see a scenario where the Bears lose both games to Detroit, split with the Vikings, split with the Packers. I'd like to say the Bears would beat the Packers twice, but until you see what Jordan Love is, it's going to be difficult to make that guess.
Right.
Reports out of Green Bay are saying that Love has looked shaky. I mean, the last day that they just had, there was some optimism with some of the deep balls that he was throwing. But other than that, I think, especially if you look at the quarterbacks, and that's going to be our next topic, right? Is Fields versus the other quarterbacks in the season next year.
Right.
If you're looking at the NFC North quarterbacks, I would say that Fields is probably, as of right now, third best. Goff's been to a Super Bowl. Kirk here and there. Jordan Love, we don't know who he is. So I would like to think that Fields can step up.
Justin Fields ahead of Kirk Cousins, but
I would to an extent. Like, we have to see him throw the ball more. I know we've discussed this.
Oh, absolutely.
Ad nauseum about how, as long as he's putting the team in the position to win, it doesn't really matter to either of us.
Right.
And I stand by that. If you want your quarterback to put your team in the best position to win, and if that means he's got to run for 115 yards and 2 touchdowns and you win the game, then you win the game. Nobody will complain.
Right. And yeah, just to elaborate on that, really you look at a lot of the games that the Bears played last year, and it wasn't due to the lack of talent or effort from Fields that they lost those games. I mean, if you're hemorrhaging, 30 plus points a game, it doesn't matter if you can score 28, 31 consistently,
Right.
They had 4
think about this last season
and lost all of them.
Right. There was what, 6-game span there where they were just
leading the NFL,
right? And that's when Fields was doing the majority of his running, right? In a 6-game span, maybe a little bit more here, a couple
it was
other
really
games.
about an 8-game window,
right?
But yeah, those last 6 where they were leading.
But then look at how the season finished, right? With Justin Fields, he was hurt, he was exhausted.
It's not sustainable,
right? Not even close. I think, to expect him to produce the same numbers in the running the ball as he did last year, if he does that, then that's not a good sign. That means the Bears are in trouble.
Right. Yeah, I totally agree. Let's transition into our next topic with that. Justin versus the field. Where will Fields rank amongst opposing quarterbacks this season?
Words.
We ask the tough questions here on Sport Court.
That's right.
We want to know. What are your thoughts, guys? Make sure to comment in the chat and chime in. I want to dive right into this.
So I got a list of every quarterback that the Bears play next season. Okay. So let's just go through this list and see if we would rather have Fields or the opposing quarterback. All right.
So, let's go.
Jordan Love,
Justin
Fields. All right. Baker Mayfield, Justin Fields. Patrick Mahomes. Justin Fields. I'm just kidding.
Obviously.
Right? Russell Wilson.
Justin Fields. At this point in his career,
after last season, I would definitely take Fields also. Especially because Russ is just old, man. Like, that body's beat up, too much running.
Right.
That's what I'm afraid will happen to Fields if he runs too much.
In 5 years, yeah.
Sam Howell, and for those of you that don't know who Sam Howell is, he is going to be the starting quarterback for the Washington Commanders.
Look at you, politically correct with the name. Gotcha. I love it.
Gotcha.
Anyway,
I'm going to say Fields.
Yeah.
Then we got our boy Captain Kirk Cousins.
I would rather have Justin Fields just because Kirk Cousins is a statue, man.
I agree with you on that. If I was the Vikings, I'd rather have Fields also. All right. the handsome Jimmy Garoppolo.
Justin Fields only because Jimmy Garoppolo is injury prone and he'd be out in 2 weeks with the Bears.
So like that's a good one, right? That's a good debate. Jimmy G versus
honestly,
Fields.
I don't think Jimmy G will be who we see when we play the Raiders. Like by that point in the season, I think he'll be hurt.
Well, who's their backup?
Week 8, week 9?
I don't know. Let me look real quick.
I think it's still Jared Stidham, if I do recall correctly.
Stidham? All right, let's see.
Stidham, and he led the
2,
team for
3,
a few
4,
weeks
5,
there
6,
after
7. Week 7, they play the Raiders.
Yeah, I think Jimmy G's hurt like week 4. I never wish injury upon
who is
anyone.
His back? Aiden O'Connell? I've never even heard of dude.
It's not
Brian Hoyer
anymore.
It says Brian Hoyer. If that's their backup,
Brian Hoyer.
I can't believe he's still playing in the NFL.
He's got to be 38, 39. Jeez.
He's 37.
Okay,
37.
I was close.
So I agree with that. I think just Jimmy G's health, man. He's never been able to stay really healthy. And he doesn't have the greatest numbers. Like his numbers aren't gaudy, right? You look at him and you're like, oh, okay.
That's an average stat line.
Right. I can't believe that this dude wins as much as he wins.
So not to derail too much and spend too much time on Jimmy G, but that is a move that I did not understand when the Raiders made it. You basically traded a guy who's like a 60% lifetime completion passer for a guy that's a 60% lifetime.
You just went from one guy. You went from Derek Carr to Derek Carr that gets hurt more. Right.
Right. Like
it's a Raiders thing to do
that I don't understand, but I don't understand Raiders owner Mark Davis's haircut either. So there's that.
Yeah.
You ever seen this man's hair? He's got this straight bowl cut.
It's terrible.
Totally horrible. Like all the money that you own a football team. You can't go to a stylist that make your hair look a little better than that.
It probably just like a comfort thing. I feel like that's what he had when he was like 5. And he's like, oh, this is my comfortable haircut.
He's got like the reverse Bernie Madoff, but it's orange. Like, I don't understand what's going on there. Anyways, moving on, Ace.
After that, they play Justin Herbert. If I'm being honest, I would take Justin Herbert. Then Derek Carr, Jimmy G 2.0.
I'd rather
except less handsome and less injury prone.
I'd rather have Fields.
As well. I would rather have Fields. Bryce Young. So this is an interesting one because
this is the debate, right?
All the way leading up to the draft, right? It was there was conflicting reports that the Bears were going to look to trade Fields and get Bryce Young, and then they end up trading the number 1 pick. So now going forward, you're always going to compare, is Bryce Young and was it better for the Bears to have taken Bryce Young, get rid of Fields, or is Fields better than Bryce Young? Right now, I'm going to say Fields just because we've watched him play. He has a body of work for a couple seasons.
I would agree.
And we don't know anything about Bryce Young yet in the NFL.
So to elaborate on that a little bit, Ace, you said that's kind of always going to be the measuring stick, right? If Bryce Young comes out and plays phenomenally. I'm glad the Bears didn't take Bryce Young. He's too small to be a sustainable quarterback in the NFL. I'm an Alabama fan, Roll Tide.
You are.
I do not see him lasting in the NFL. He's 185 pounds soaking wet, and he's short, man. I don't understand the thing with these short quarterbacks. Him, Russell Wilson, Kyler Murray. You want a guy that's over 6 foot that can stand, survey the field, and command his team. You look at Kyler Murray at times, and he just looks like a middle schooler playing with college students. Like it's a horrible thing to say. And
there's some flashy moments, right? Like there's some games where Kyler Murray will just take over, but then there's
other games where he can't throw over the lineman's helmet. Like
right. And we'll get to that in a little bit too. So you said Fields?
So I said Fields.
All right. Then Jared Goff.
I really hate Jared Goff, so I'm going to say Justin Fields just because I really, really dislike Jared Goff.
I think this one's tricky because of the
Stafford
year that Goff. The year Goff
had, they did Stafford dirty, man.
Yeah, I mean, he won a Super Bowl though. So did they do him that dirty? He went to the first year in LA. He went to the Super Bowl. So like, I'd much rather leave Detroit and win a Super Bowl than stay with the Lions and still beat Matt Stafford and the Lions.
You remember the last game of his rookie season? Stafford broke his collarbone. And went back in and threw that touchdown.
Threw the touchdown to win the game, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's wild, dude.
That is wild. I've
watched that clip
ago, dude.
Yeah, I've watched that clip on the internet, and
that was like 15 years ago. I'm starting to feel old. I saw a video the other day that was like songs that turned 25 in 2023.
Yeah,
and I was like, I enjoyed all this music at one point in time. Like
that's.
But anyways, let's move on, Ace. Go back to your Jared Goff.
So let's calm ourselves on the old talk here. I get a little uncomfortable with being as old as I am. But back to our quarterback conversation. Right. So we both have Fields over Goff. Deshaun,
can you see the small text on your notebook there, Grandpa Ace?
Oh, you jerk. Deshaun, the massage Watson.
Deshaun the Massage Watson.
I couldn't think of a better nickname. It just came to me.
Just rolls right off the tongue.
No, it didn't really, but I'll do it anyways. I'd take Fields.
This is a tough one, man, because Deshaun Watson, before the scandal, was such an electric player, man. And I always hated that the Bears didn't meet with him. Honestly, if he would have came to Chicago, I don't think that whole scandal would have ever happened. That's neither here nor there. But looking at where Watson's at now, I'm going to say I'm taking Fields, especially by this point in the season. I think we'll know who Fields is and if he's the guy.
Yeah, I think by the time they play the Browns, you're going to know if Fields is the guy going forward or if the Bears are going to be looking for somebody else with those two picks.
They're drafting a quarterback in a very deep quarterbacks class. So
yeah, with 2 first-round picks that you can move up kind of anywhere to snag the guy you want.
Up to number 1 if you really are set on a guy. But so
and then the Kyler Murray, I don't know if he's going to play this season. There was reports because like they were saying, well, he's not healthy. So is he going to play or are they just going to sit him? I would still take Fields over Murray. Kind of similar to the Bryce Young debate that you said. He's just small and it's not sustainable that size in the NFL. You got these guys that are just going to take you out. And after that, you're
lining up across guys like Ndamukong Suh and Aaron Donald. I just showed my age there. I like Ndamukong Suh hasn't been relevant. Like
not in a minute. But I'll always remember him for stepping on that one Packer player. That was my favorite. Was that Aaron Rodgers?
No, it was. I think their running back at the time. Maybe Eddie Cheeseburger Lacy. I think that's who it was.
Speaking of cheeseburgers, it was Grimace's birthday. Just so you know,
that it was. I did not go get me a purple shake, but
wait. I didn't know that.
They had purple shakes.
That's wild. Desmond Ridder, for those of you that don't know who Desmond Ridder is, that's the quarterback of the Atlanta Falcons.
So Desmond Ridder, I believe he is a former spring football player. If you want to fact check that, Ace, I do believe he is a guy that played in either the XFL or the AAF. Maybe I'm mixing him up with somebody else, but either way, Desmond Ridder, I know hardly anything about him, so I'm going Justin Fields.
I don't see anything about the XFL on his bio. I would still go Justin Fields.
However, the Bears' backup quarterback, P.J. Walker, was the league leader in the XFL in 2020.
He was before COVID, right?
And that gave him an opportunity in the NFL. Come on, NFL, do the right thing. Make the XFL your G League. That's all I'm saying. It's good for everybody. More football's a win.
More football, more better, right? That's the old saying.
Exactly.
So that's the breakdown of all the quarterbacks.
I think we picked what? Two quarterbacks over Fields.
Fields now. maybe we're just being homers here, which I can't say we've never done that before.
I've never once been a homer in my life on this
we keep
network.
it
Never.
pretty
We keep it
level
even
here.
keeled.
Yep,
I did
no
not
bias
say the
one way
Bears were
or
going to
the
win
other.
10 games last year.
Yeah. The 12-5 record wasn't because I'm a Bears fan. It was because
No.
the hard-hitting analytics say that, if the Bears
It
could
was
win 12,
pure analyst. I mean, if Adam Rank's saying it on the NFL
right,
network,
that's what I'm saying.
There's got to
I'm
be
not
some
the only one
credibility
here.
to it.
Right. I'm not the only one. I'm not even on the NFL network yet.
Yeah.
But somebody on the
No.
NFL network had the same record as me. So
there you go.
So it looks like I'm pretty accurate if you
who's
ask
crazy and who's right? Only time will tell. All right. With that being said, obviously we have tremendous hopes as a little bit of Bears fans. I mean, we're a lot of Bears fans. We're diehard Bears fans, but from our Bears fan perspective, we obviously hope that Justin Fields flourishes this season. However, if he does not, the Bears trade up, draft the quarterback of the future, and move on.
Yep.
And Justin Fields is still young, and maybe get a second round pick for. I don't know. I
probably
don't go
not.
that
You
route.
probably won't get a second round, maybe a third. Anything.
I don't want to go that
if you're
route.
planning on moving on from him, anything's better than nothing.
I'm thinking
maybe you pair him with the 2 first-round picks for whatever team's at the number 1 spot. Boom.
Now Fields is going to succeed this season. I can feel it.
Yeah, it's like when I tweeted that tweet about that I felt like it was a Justin Fields breakout game, and then the Bears had the number 1 offense the next 6 weeks in a row. So
it was Justin.
Look at the takes that are on this show, and they're pretty. I mean, other than our season record prediction last year,
we've got a pretty solid track record.
I mean, we do. It's kind of.
I'll take it.
I'll take.
All right, let's move right into our next topic, Ace. That being running through the competition. How will the Bears utilize their running backs this season? I like this one for a number of reasons. Obviously, the acquisition of the other running back from Texas, Johnson, not the running back that I would have liked to see the Bears draft. I would have liked to see them draft Bijan Robinson. I'm still not completely over that.
So I was listening to Peggy and Dion on ESPN 1000, and I believe Peggy's son is like a beat reporter for the Longhorns, and he came on to discuss Johnson with them and said basically like it wasn't that much of a drop off between the two, that they were kind of like 1A, 1B, and the only reason that he had less carries is just because of the way that the way it was broken down. But he thinks that we're getting a guy that's fairly similar with less miles on him than
Bijan. Obviously, I didn't think the Bijan thing was really going to come to fruition. It was a pipe dream, right? We knew the Bears were taking a tackle. We knew at least that's what the Bears should have done, I should say. But I'm excited about this running back room, right? Deonta Foreman last year in limited action put up like 800 yards. He looked good, was solid, consistent. Khalil Herbert.
I mean, he was the number 1 running back for a minute.
He was. I'm not a huge Khalil Herbert fan. Like, I would have rather the Bears moved on from him and kept David Montgomery personally. Like, if it came down to a choice between the two, but Khalil Herbert's younger. He's got less miles.
Montgomery kept getting injured. Not like bad injuries, but just little nagging injuries where he missed like 2 games and then like a game.
Right.
You know?
And Herbert stepped up in those times when Montgomery was gone. And then obviously the acquisition of Johnson from the draft. Like you said, the guy's a true like bell cow running back. He's your replacement for David Montgomery.
Yep.
Khalil Herbert's still kind of that mixing guy. And then Deonta Foreman's probably going to be a really good 1B. I think Johnson emerges as the 1A in this running back room. Even if it takes a few weeks, obviously he's got to earn his opportunities.
Right.
I think Johnson becomes the 1A. I think Foreman becomes the 1B. And I think Khalil Herbert's the RB3 on this roster by the end of the season. Bold prediction for you, my friend.
That is a bold prediction. One thing about this running back room is the Bears kind of have a type, right? And they're looking
Yep.
for guys that don't have a ton of miles on them, right? Foreman had been injured here and there
Right.
throughout early in his career. Johnson was a backup in college, so he didn't get that much wear. I think you might actually have a point here where they might look at these two guys and think, okay, well, Herbert's good, but we drafted this kid. Let's see what
Right.
he can do. I wouldn't be
Absolutely. I
surprised if
think
he
you
does.
have to.
Yeah, I mean, it's contract wise also. I wouldn't be surprised because this is what Herbert's third season now,
Third or fourth.
something like that. I don't remember off the top of my head,
Yep.
but you're looking at a rookie running back that's going to come in there with limited miles on him. I think it's a good possibility that that's how it shakes out, that he ends up becoming RB1, and Foreman, he definitely has a shot at RB2. I do think the Bears have, considering one of the best potential running back groups in the NFL right now. I'm not going to say they have the best, obviously, because they don't have, and I'm not talking about, the Packers have Aaron Jones, but as a collective group, I think that the Bears have one of the top running back rooms in the NFL.
I don't disagree with you. Khalil Herbert is only 25 years old, and it is his third season in the
That's
NFL.
what I thought. That's what I thought.
So, it's one of those things we always talk about at Ace. You don't pay running backs.
Right.
Like,
You just don't.
Running back is the only position that's going down in value in the NFL.
Yep.
Literally, you see it time and time again. Perfect example that always comes to mind for me now is Leonard Fournette, right?
Yeah.
You saw the contract option that he was given down in Jacksonville, right? He was in Jacksonville.
Yep.
And then he turned that down and he ended up going to Tampa for less money on a shorter contract. And, a lot of these guys just negotiate themselves out of the league.
Right.
Look
Todd
at all
Gurley,
the free
remember that?
agents
He sat out for a minute and then was not.
Todd Gurley,
Le'Veon Bell.
Le'Veon Bell's a perfect example.
Yep.
Went to New York, never rekindled it after that, after he sat out for a year. Look at all the free agents right now. The name's eluding me. The guy that was the staple for the Browns a couple years ago is now a free agent.
Johnson? No.
Anyways,
there's so many running backs that come and go. That's the point here, right? Is like,
yeah, that's the thing,
and that's why the Bears didn't re-sign David Montgomery. Well, I know
Delvin
people
Cook's
are mad.
a free agent,
right? Delvin Cook's we'll get to that.
That is,
but that's why
up.
the Bears didn't sign David Montgomery, because it's not a wise football decision to pay running backs a second contract, whether you love them or not. It's
right.
proven that they break down faster than any other position in football, and you can't put your resources that you can use on offensive linemen, defensive linemen, quarterback, playmaking guys when you
literally
have
every other position.
Right. If you have an average offensive line, a running back should have no problem getting yards.
Exactly. It's all about passing in the modern NFL anyway, right? So, I don't know. I'm excited about this running back room, Ace. I think, like I said, I think Johnson emerges as your 1A by the end of the season. It'll be interesting to see these three combined with Justin Fields and a stout offensive line. I could potentially see the Bears being top 5 in rushing in the league easy.
Well, and Luke Getsy, I believe, a few weeks ago came out and said that they're really going to lean on the running game to set up the passing game, which obviously that's
totally okay with. That's what you need to do.
Especially with
the play
Fields,
action,
who has shown last season he wasn't as comfortable making some of those tight throws. Give your quarterback the opportunity to lean on these guys, let them run the ball. And then, like you said, even he becomes a running threat at times too. I'm not going to say he's a running quarterback, because
no, but he's a weapon that you can use to run. I would be okay if he rushes for 40 yards every game this upcoming season, 30, 40 yards.
I mean, if he has 800 yards rushing, I won't be mad. as long
he
as
stays healthy.
Right.
But before we go into our next topic, Ace, let's go ahead and take a quick break, guys, and we will be back with you in 40 seconds.
I'm undefeated. I came to fight for the love of the game. Unstoppable. That's why I'm undefeated. Off the leash, out of the cage, an animal. That's why I'm undefeated. I know I can beat it. Won't give up, 'cause I believe it. Fight for the love of the game. Unstoppable. That's right. I'm undefeated.
All right, guys, welcome back. And you are tuned in to Sport Court right here on the Undefeated Sports Network. I am Andrew Tarbill. To my left is our guy, Angelo Ace Camacho. Although you can't see his name because of Khalil Herbert's helmet.
Yeah, his big
That
head's
is
in the
who
way.
he is.
I am him.
He is him.
I am him.
Before we get into the Bears, well, more Bears talk, I should say, before we continue our Bears heavy night, I do want to say one thing basketball related, Ace.
Oh,
Switch
I
it up,
wanted to
throw
talk
you a
about this
curveball
too,
here.
but I didn't. I was gonna bring this up, but we were like so focused on Bears today that I didn't want to just like, oh hey, and by the way,
No, I do. I want to be that guy that takes a break and says the Chicago Bulls are officially shopping Zach LaVine around.
officially,
I like
officially official.
I think it's time to move on from Zach. Zach is a star, but he's not an all-star. It'll be interesting to see what the Bulls can get for him. There's also people in the Bulls organization that believe Lonzo Ball will never play basketball again.
I mean, at this point, dude hasn't played in a season and a half, and he's not going to play next year. Like, it's already determined that he's not playing next year.
Pretty concerning.
Yeah, I mean, I like the idea of trading Zach LaVine. I wasn't a big fan of them signing him in the beginning
To a max deal.
Yeah, I wasn't for it. I understand doing it because you really had no other choice. There's some interesting scenarios. I was listening to Bleck and Abdallah on ESPN 1000, and they were and Bleck brought up the idea of trading him to Miami and getting a guy like Tyler Hero and go, because Hero's still young enough to where he could develop into somebody else. I don't hate that idea. But I think it would depend on what else you would get.
We got a comment here in the chat from Big Mike 13458. They should shop DeMar too.
I don't know what you get for DeMar though.
Yeah, I think at this point DeMar DeRozan's a good 2-point shooter that can mid-range teams to death, and he plays all right defense. I'm not saying DeMar DeRozan's the answer, but I don't think you get a good enough return on investment to justify trading him at this point.
At this point in his career, he's going to be more of a mentor role, and he's still going to put up, 18 to 24 points a game from the mid-range, but it's not 2001 anymore. The mid-range game is dead.
I was going to say DeMar DeRozan's
dude puts up 40 points and they still lose by 30. Like that's the problem with DeMar is he doesn't have the outside shot, not even a threat of an outside shot. So when you're sitting there and you're like, oh, well, we're going to guard the outside, you don't have to. DeMar has to basically make his way into the paint. Otherwise, he's useless.
Right.
So,
all right, guys, that was a new segment that I am coining Bulls Breaks.
Bulls Breaks. I like it.
All right, let's move right back into our Chicago Bears talk here on the Undefeated Sports Network, and this is Sport Court. Let the Bears cook. Should the Bears be interested in signing Delvin Cook? I'm going to speed through this one, Ace, and just
next topic.
Ultimately, we touched base on it already, right? You don't give running backs big contracts. Nope. Delvin Cook wants a big contract. As tremendous of a rusher as he is, I think the Bears have solidified their running back room. This is a move that doesn't make sense for Chicago and really would only hurt the morale of Johnson, right? Because then like Cook's going to be the number one no matter what if you pay him big money. And then Johnson's going to go, well, why did you guys draft me?
This is a move for a team that's a contender, I feel. You know what I mean? Like a team that
This is a move for the Buffalo Bills.
Right. Or like when
They
Fournette went
reunite
to the
Cook
Bucks,
brothers.
right? When Fournette went to the Bucks to be with Brady, it helped that team. This is a guy who I think, like you said, the Bills, I could see that working really well.
Have both
maybe
brothers
even
on one team.
Baltimore.
That'd be cool.
Maybe even Baltimore would be a good option for him. They like to run the ball a lot, so
yeah, but they've got
not the
Lamar
Bears.
Jackson.
Not the Bears.
Right. Yeah, I think as you said, it's not a fit for the Bears.
No.
I really have nothing else to say on this one, Ace.
I know we just wanted to bring it up because there's been talks, but it makes zero sense for the Bears to bring him in.
And that brings us to...
So this wasn't even a topic originally when we had discussed it a couple days ago on what we wanted to talk about tonight. But reports have come out. You know me, I'm a big ESPN 1000 dude. I listen to them all the time. Ask anybody who knows me. So
got to give credit where credit is due. So
right, it's the home of the Bears.
It's home of the Bears.
Right, so why not listen to it
on ESPN 1000?
That's right.
Reports Chase Claypool lacking in self-motivation. Sylvie of ESPN 1000's Waddle and Sylvie show has heard that people inside the Bears organization are frustrated with Chase Claypool.
And we've talked about Claypool a lot on this show, specifically.
That we have.
And it's always been negative. I don't think there's ever been a positive conversation about him.
No, you know,
not that I can remember.
That's the frustrating thing is ultimately you gave up a second-round pick for him.
Right.
He hasn't panned out thus far.
And a high second-round pick, too.
He's right. Although we didn't know it was going to be a high second-round pick at the time. But that's hindsight, right? Ultimately, you look at Chase Claypool, and it's a guy who his rookie season showed so much promise that he could be a true bona fide number one for a team. You know, he played really well with Big Ben his rookie year. Then Big Ben got that thing we call noodle arm on this network and could throw only Mitchell Trubisky style passes, who conveniently is on the Steelers now as well.
Yeah,
obviously is the backup behind Pickett, whatever the guys.
Yeah. I do have a little clip of the ESPN 1000 show that
you do. Played. I was gonna rant about Claypool for a minute before I played it, but let's take a look at this video.
Yeah, let's listen to it and then we'll discuss what was said. How about that?
He continued to say he's got time. He's got these 40 days to get healthy before training camp. He has said that he's got time to get into the playbook and that he has learned the playbook. I have heard from a few people inside that building that he is not somebody who is very self-motivated. There's a long way to go. Chase Claypool can change the narrative. Waddle always likes to say, if you want to change the narrative,
change the narrative.
So Chase Claypool can do so. All I can tell you is it isn't trending in a way that the Bears have wanted it to trend in this offseason. Chase Claypool is a guy that they've wanted to see some things from. They have not been able to see those things from him on and off the field. All those things don't sound great for Claypool going into training camp on where they think he's going to be.
Gotta give credit where credit is due. Love listening to the Waddle and Sylvie show on ESPN
Video
1000.
credited to ESPN 1000, Waddle and Sylvie show. Thank you. Just don't want to get in trouble.
The home of the Chicago Bears.
That's right, the home.
So,
of the Chicago
like
Bears.
I said, gotta give credit where credit's due. Those guys have an excellent program, but that's some really concerning things to hear a guy like Sylvie who's very locked in when it comes to.
And he was on the Bears beat earlier in his career
for like 15 years or so, I believe. So obviously Tom Waddle, former Chicago Bears legend, in some people's opinions, the best wide receiver the Bears ever had.
Tough as nails, that guy. Tough as nails.
Tough as nails. Took a bunch of grimacing hits. But anyways, so obviously if it's being reported at a high level by guys like Waddle and Sylvie, there's got to be some traction behind it. And you look at everything that has happened and transpired over the past, it's almost been 7 months now.
Yeah, 8 months or so.
8 months. So you look at everything that transpired last season, then the injury. Obviously, he wasn't making impact plays last season, was being used fairly consistently and just not getting targets from Justin for whatever reason. And then the injury happens, he's out, he's down, he's not progressing the way that the organization would like to see him. Obviously, I interpret that as from a health perspective, both physically and mentally, I would say, with the not being where he wants to be in learning the playbook, as well as,
That was a report coming out towards the end of the season last year, right? Is that he just wasn't getting the playbook, and
Right.
that's why they weren't really going to him much during games. So it's a little alarming that to this point, you've had an entire offseason to work on this playbook, and you're still not getting it.
And here's the thing, if you're injured, right, that's what you do is read up on the playbook, study the schemes, the formations, sit there on the sideline when you're unable to participate,
Right,
and
watch
the
tape.
schemes in
Yep.
real time, watch
Yep.
tape. And all of these things should make the player gel and ultimately understand the playbook better. However, with Chase Claypool, that hasn't seemed to have been the case thus far. Now, I'm willing to give Chase Claypool a little bit of the benefit of the doubt, and I really think I'm going to say the first 4 games of the season, assuming he's healthy at the start of the season, are going to be a true tale of whether this Chase Claypool trade pans out or not.
So let me ask you this.
Ask away,
How
brother.
do we know if it's a successful trade, right? Like, because even in Pittsburgh, he was really just known for like that big playability where he would just beat the corner deep and catch the ball, right? Like, and I get it. That's awesome, especially when you're in a passing NFL right now, right? But if he's not motivated to, help on blocks or, do those little pick plays that offensive coordinators design now where, you're cutting across each other and stopping the corners. And if he's only catching, one deep ball a game, what's the point? And I'm not saying that it's not going to be good, but
that's what I'm trying to allude to, Ace. Even if the guy goes out and has 2 catches every game and one of them's a touchdown catch, to me, that's not good enough. That's not warranting of, that's not warranting of a new contract.
Because he's going to be wide receiver 3, right? You would think. Unless they push Mooney to 3 so that they don't have to give him a big contract.
I think Darnell Mooney's in the slot just for his breakaway speed.
Yeah.
I think Chase Claypool's the quote-unquote number 2 in this offense until he loses that spot.
Yep.
If he doesn't perform well, obviously, I think they have options. They could obviously move Darnell Mooney back to the 2 spot and put Tyler Scott in the slot or one of those guys.
And I think that's what – so we had discussed the whole Darnell Mooney contract thing, right? And then they drafted Scott, who is very similar in build to Darnell Mooney, and he plays a very similar style.
He's your replacement for Darnell
Right,
Mooney.
Yeah. You've said that plenty of times. Yep, 100%. So, I think it wouldn't be surprising to see if Claypool's just not getting it, to see him bump down to 4. Maybe they move Scott up to 2 or even 3. I know he's just a rookie, but if you're already planning on not re-signing,
I mean, Scott is a bona fide slot receiver.
If you're not planning on re-signing Mooney, then I could see maybe moving him to the 2 spot. But it really, I think a contract for Darnell Mooney is dependent on how Claypool plays this season.
Well, and it's also dependent on how Mooney plays this season, obviously.
Right.
I mean, ultimately, if both of these guys come out and are lackluster, neither one of them will be on this team next year.
Right,
That's
100%. Right, because they're both free agents after this season. But I mean, if you're going to one of them, I think what you have to do is, if Claypool wants that contract, he's got to earn it. And I know that sounds funny because it's like, duh, he's got to earn it. But here's
the thing, they're only going to pay one of them.
Right. I don't think they want to re-sign Darnell Mooney. I think they want to re-sign Claypool because of what they gave up to get him. And that's why I think he has the ball in his court right now. If he fumbles it, and no pun intended, but if he doesn't do what the Bears need him to do, there's no shot they re-sign him. And then I think Mooney stays on this team.
If you want to change the narrative,
Change the narrative.
Exactly. For me, it's frustrating with Chase Claypool. Like, there's still so much upside to this deal. If he pans out and plays well, Bears fans are gonna love him.
Right.
if
But
he
Bears fans will crush him if he doesn't.
If he doesn't pan out, he's gone next year, and Bears fans will kick him on the rear end on the way out.
And then we'll discuss Ryan Poles, good or bad moves next offseason. We'll break down all the bad and good that he's done. Boom, look at that. I'm already foreshadowing shows in the future. So
fair enough.
Set. We have
security before we wrap up here for the night, Ace.
Packers suck.
Yes, the Packers do suck, as always.
Always.
Before we wrap up for the night here, just want to let our audience know that we are going to be coming back to you every Thursday moving forward. We appreciate you guys that are joining in, listening to us. We've got some big things in the works here at the Undefeated Sports Network. We have our wrestling show going to be starting up consistently here in the next couple weeks, and we're going to be reviving the Tuesday night show at some point here down the road as well. So appreciate all of you that are listening. Thank you for joining us as always. If you have not already done so, please go like, subscribe, and follow on Twitter, Twitch, Facebook, YouTube. Did I forget anyone? No, that's it.
No, we don't have
all
an
the
Insta yet for it.
So go give us that like, follow.
And I know we've said we're working on the
share.
Spotify. We still are. It's just it hasn't been a priority.
Yeah,
so.
we'll get there. We will get there. With that being said, go give us a like and follow, guys. It helps the algorithm. Give a share to the content if you enjoyed what you saw this evening.
I got TikTok. I forgot. You guys can follow me on TikTok. I post the show on there. That's really all I use TikTok for, is just to post show clips. It's at Ace SC23.
All right. Go follow your guy Ace on TikTok if that's your thing.
Hey, man. Any opportunity to get the show out there, we need to get the show out there.
All right, guys. As always, we appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you for tuning in. Be sure to share with your friends, like, subscribe, and follow. Thank you to our loyal viewers, and we will be back with you next Thursday at 8 p.m. to do this all over again. This is Sport Court, and with that, my friends, Court is out of session.